It is said that in Indonesia, there exists a profession dedicated solely to cleansing the dead. First, they bathe the corpse with water and soapy liquid, then wrap it tightly with 2 white cloths. Only the head of the deceased must be left exposed. Only in this way can their soul be freed. Because of their work, they are constantly surrounded by negative energy and often witness unclean things. Some experienced workers can even predict disasters through these supernatural signs. Lela's mother was one of them. One day while she was praying, she suddenly heard footsteps outside the door, pacing around the house over and over again. But when she lifted the curtain to look outside, it suddenly turned quiet and empty. Still feeling uneasy, she tried to continue her prayers. Although she vaguely sensed something was wrong, to avoid unnecessary trouble, she forced herself to stay calm and carry on with her task. Just as she was about to finish her prayers, a hand suddenly reached out. It turned out to be her daughter, Lela. Seeing it was just her daughter playing a prank, she finally relaxed. According to village tradition, this work is passed down only to daughters, never sons. So the mother planned to pass her skills on to Lela. But Lela thought this was a lowly job and refused her mother on the spot.
Sekarang kalau bukan kamu siapa, Ler? Udah nggak ada pemandi jenazah di kampung kita ini.
Emang aku nggak boleh ya, Bu, kayak Arif? Ngerjain apa yang aku mau, Bu?
To ease the tension, the mother tried to cheer her up with a cake given by a neighbor. But the moment she opened it, she saw it crawling with insects. Her years of experience told her this was an omen of the neighbor's death. She quickly changed clothes and grabbed her kit, preparing to go pray for the neighbor. But just as she stepped out of the house, she heard the neighbor's death announced on the radio. Yet based on the cake earlier, the mother believed the death was not natural. Sure enough, when she arrived at the house, she saw the neighbor's face horribly distorted, but strangely, she was smiling. In his hand, he tightly held a torn-up photo. When the mother returned home, she suddenly collapsed at the doorstep. Fortunately, Lela and her brother found her in time and helped her inside. But strangely, since returning home, the mother lay on the bed in a daze, her soul seemingly absent. No matter what Lela said, she wouldn't utter a single word. Later, as Lela was doing laundry, her mother quietly got out of bed on her own. She struck a match and pulled out a blood-soaked piece of clothing from her bag. It was the very clothing worn by the deceased neighbor.
Nanti kalau kamu mandiin jenazah, semua harus kamu bakar. Jangan sampai rasa penasaran kamu hantui kamu.
After explaining everything, the mother turned to go back to her room to sleep. But as she passed by a mirror, she caught a glimpse of something strange. She returned to look more closely, only to see her reflection had already turned into a demonic spirit. The mother knew clearly what this meant. It was a sign her death was near. That night, as the mother and daughter lay down to sleep, a terrifying ghostly hand suddenly appeared on the roof. Unaware of it all, Lela simply turned over, only to feel something wet by the edge of her bed. Looking closely, she realized her mother had already passed away, and the way she died was eerily similar to the neighbor, her eyes wide open, yet with a faint smile at the corners of her mouth. To fulfill her mother's last wish, Lela had no choice but to inherit the duty of a corpse washer. And to avoid village gossip, the siblings claimed to outsiders that their mother had simply died from a sudden heart attack, and nothing supernatural had occurred. But the next day, during a cleansing ritual, they discovered a ball of bloody wire in the corpse's mouth. This made Lela realize her mother's death wasn't as simple as they had believed. That day, the village women's head came by to offer condolence money and happened to see the bloodstains on the bed that hadn't yet been cleaned. Everyone began to grow curious about the mother's death, but knowing they couldn't explain it, they quickly shut the door. Still, the cause of her death soon spread through the entire village, and the rumors became more outrageous by the day. A woman named Terry, desperate for attention, loved to add fuel to the gossip fire. But soon, karma came for her.
Aduh, makanya nggak usah ngomong santet-santet segala.
That evening, the villagers gathered in the church to pray as per custom. But while everyone prayed with focus, a decaying ghostly hand quietly snatched away the Bible. Terry seemed to sense something and looked around nervously. Suddenly, the lights in the room went out amid a sharp scream. Since most villagers had never experienced anything supernatural, they thought nothing of it and lit candles, intending to continue the prayer. Meanwhile, Lela was horrified to discover that several terrifying ghosts had mingled into the crowd. Among them was her mother. What was even more bizarre was that all the ghosts, without exception, had their eyes fixed on a woman named Tuti. At that moment, Lela finally understood. Could this be the intuition that comes with being a corpse washer? In other words, the next to die would be Tuti. After returning home, Lela quickly discovered something terrifying. A woman dressed in white was praying in the room. She stepped forward to take a look, but the figure inside the robe instantly vanished. Frightened, Lela was about to leave when she stepped on a piece of iron wire that had mysteriously appeared. Enduring the sharp pain, she pulled out the wire, only for Tuti's ghost to suddenly appear behind her. At the same time, an unknown energy also found its way to Tuti. The wardrobe in the room suddenly opened on its own, and Tuti curiously stepped forward to check it out, but the door slammed shut right after, and no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't get it open again, as if someone inside was holding it shut. Just as she was about to give up, the door suddenly swung open again. Tuti, trying to stay calm, peeked inside. Her son rushed in, drawn by the scream, and witnessed his mother bleeding from all 7 orifices, vomiting blood violently. In the blink of an eye, she collapsed beside the bed and died on the spot. The next day, as the village's only corpse washer, Lela went to Tuti's house to cleanse her body. She suddenly recalled the iron wire found in her mother's mouth and decided to pry open Tuti's mouth, hoping to find something inside. But although Tuti had only died recently, her jaw had already become unnaturally stiff. No matter how hard Lela tried, she couldn't get it open. With no other option, she began the process of cleaning the body. But then, Tuti's corpse suddenly sat up and began repeatedly patting her stomach, as if trying to signal something. Startled, Lela cautiously lifted the shirt and found a piece of iron wire sticking out from her belly button. When she pulled it out, she realized the wire was over 1 meter long. But even after laying Tuti back down, her eyes remained wide open. No matter how many times Lela tried to close them, it was no use.
Tolong saya!
Still shaken, Lela suddenly realized, whether it was the neighbor, her mother, or Tuti, their deaths might not have been natural at all. They may have been murdered. To confirm her suspicion, Lela went to the neighbor's grave under the cover of night. She dug up the corpse, and sure enough, found another piece of iron wire. Learning the truth, Lela was devastated. Who could be so cruel as to bring death to so many people? Until Tuti's son came to find her, finally offering a clue. He told her that, in the days before her death, Tuti kept repeating a name, Nur. Then, he took out an old group photo of the village women. All the dead women were in the picture, and Nur was the one hiding her face with her hand. Rumor had it that when Nur was young, she lived a promiscuous life and had affairs with several married men in the village. When the scandal broke out, the village women banded together to drive her out. After hearing this, Lela originally planned to investigate Nur's whereabouts in secret, but before she could act, another crisis emerged. Because she had exhumed the neighbor's grave, word of it spread quickly through the village via the loudspeaker. Lela was jolted awake by the announcement, only to be horrified to find a piece of iron wire placed under her pillow. Her younger brother, having also heard the broadcast, rushed to find Lela. But as soon as he entered the room, he saw muddy footprints all over the floor. Following the tracks, he discovered a hoe hidden beneath the bed.
Ba kemana semalam?
Seeing that she couldn't explain her way out, Lela confessed everything she knew. She believed their mother and the other dead women were most likely under some kind of curse, but their entire conversation was secretly overheard by Terry outside the window. Terry was infamous for her big mouth, and she quickly spread the rumor about the women being cursed throughout the village. All the women began to fear that they might be next. Upon hearing this, Lela rushed to confront Terry, demanding to know why she was spreading lies about Nur. The argument between them quickly escalated. Thankfully, a villager stepped in just in time to stop the fight from getting worse. The villager also told them that the Nur they mentioned had actually died many years ago. Only her daughter was still alive. Lela wanted to find out the daughter's whereabouts, but no one seemed to know anything about her. After sending the villager off, Lela was about to say goodbye to Terry, but at that moment, Terry started acting extremely strange. Before Lela could make sense of it, Terry let out a terrifying roar, and the wooden door behind her slammed shut. Just as Nur was about to reveal the truth, she suddenly flew into a rage. She grabbed Lela by the neck and refused to let go, then collapsed limply to the ground. Lela believed she deserved this punishment. After all, it was Terry's gossip that had led to her mother's death. But that night, the ghost returned and attacked Lela again. Villagers wrapped her up for burial, and her brother, carrying the coffin, wept uncontrollably. What no one knew was, Lela wasn't actually dead. She screamed for help with all her strength, but no one responded. Luckily, it was all just a nightmare. But that nightmare finally woke Lela up. Thinking back to what the villagers had said, she recalled there was indeed an orphan girl in the village. She was about the same age as Noor's daughter. That girl was none other than her brother's girlfriend, Rika. When her brother was fast asleep, Lela secretly stole the key to Rika's house. She crept inside, hoping to find some clues. Under a loose floorboard beneath the bed, she discovered photos of all the victims. And behind each photo, strands of iron wire were stuck. The eerie scene looked exactly like some kind of curse. Among the people in the pictures, the only one still alive was Terry. Meanwhile, Terry's body began convulsing violently. A pair of ghostly hands gripped her throat, and her body twisted into a grotesque shape. By the time Lela arrived, Terry was already lifeless. And just like the others, Lela pulled out an iron wire nearly a meter long from her mouth. But the moment the wire came out, the ghosts of all the dead women appeared before her. They swarmed around Lela, nearly hysterical, begging her to avenge them. After a long struggle, Lela's mind was on the verge of breaking. An iron wire mysteriously wrapped around her neck, binding her tightly. Thankfully, villagers arrived after hearing the commotion and managed to save her in time. To stop the angry spirits from haunting her any further, Lela publicly revealed Rika's crime. Rika had cursed the women of the village to avenge her mother.
Anaknya Nur, perempuan yang dibenci, yang diusir dari sini.
Astagfirullahaladzim.
Kamu kan pelakunya, Rika!
Ibumu untuk berebut suami orang. Apa salah kami?
Apa salah ibu saya? Pembunuh! Pembunuh! Pembunuh!
At the same time, all the women present suddenly screamed in terror, as if they had seen something horrifying, clearly affected by Rika's earlier curse. Amid the chaos, Rika ran home to pack her things and escape. But the women, now regaining their senses, had already surrounded her house with sticks and clubs. The scene mirrored what had happened years ago when they had driven out Nur. They had humiliated her without restraint, ripping out her hair, breaking her legs, even tying iron wire around her face and pulling it back and forth.
Bertahun-tahun yang lalu kalian lakukan ini ke ibu saya! Menghakimi ibu saya sesuka hati kalian! Sampai ibu saya menderita sampai akhir hayat hidupnya! Ini emang dosa saya.
But now, consumed by rage, the women refused to hear a word Rika said. They were determined to make her suffer the same fate as her mother. Just as Rika was on the verge of death, Lela's mother's ghost suddenly appeared. Begging Lela to let go of her hatred and save Rika, Lela rushed into the crowd, trying to stop the violence, but the women had completely lost their senses. Even as Lela pleaded, they showed no mercy. After Lela took several heavy blows, her brother suddenly arrived, using his body to shield both Lela and Rika, but the mob turned on him, striking his head repeatedly until he collapsed in a pool of blood. Only then did the villagers snap out of their frenzy. Realizing someone had died, they scattered in panic. Lela was left alone, cradling two lifeless bodies, crying bitterly in the pouring rain. It was at that moment Lela finally understood the darkest, most terrifying thing in this world was not ghosts, but the human heart.